So we are moving on from prisms to prism's cousin, the cylinder. Why is a cylinder the cousin of a prism? Well, it is like a prism in that it has a top and a bottom, right? But the top and the bottom of a cylinder are circles. So this means that it's not a polyhedron, but it's still going to follow the same pattern. And we're going to have to remember our circumference formulas. So we just went over these, but just one more time, that circumference of a circle is pi times diameter, and area of a circle is pi times radius times radius. We know that exact uses the pi symbol, approximate uses 3.14. So just like we had on the homework last night, quick review. Here, what would the radius be? What would the diameter be? Right, radius is 6, diameter 12. So if I'm going to do the exact circumference, 12 pi millimeters. If I'm going to do the approximate circumference, I'll take out the pi and times 12 times 3.14, 37.68 millimeters. And again, that was just 12 times 3.14. For the area, exact would be pi symbol times 6, or 36 pi millimeters squared. And then if I take that 36 times 3.14, that's going to be 113.04. 113.04. And now we have done this like a million times. It feels like it, doesn't it? A million times. So it should be like simple for us to say, oh, I see the radius is 5, the diameter is 10, exact circumference. So here you got a radius of 5, diameter of 10, exact circumference would be 10 pi. And then of course 10 times 3.14, 31.4 centimeters. Exact area, 5 times 5, 25 pi. So this is like, we have done this now, literally, it feels like a million times, right? And it should be something that's real easy, that you get correct all the time, 78.5 centimeters squared. So now that we have reviewed the circle formulas, we can move on to our actual shape, which is a cylinder. So we notice that the cylinder has two bases. The bases are circles. Radius, of course, is the distance from the center to the edge, and the height is going to connect the two circles. When we take a cylinder and unwrap it, so to speak, what would happen is the label, like think of it like a can, the label of the can, when you unroll it, is really the lateral area. And that label becomes a rectangle. And the formula for area of a rectangle is, of course, base times height. But the base of this rectangle is really what wrapped around and was the circumference of the circle. So the lateral area is circumference times height. Circumference times height. Kind of like how exactly how the area of a prism was perimeter of the base times height. And that's the height of the prism. The circumference is really just the perimeter of the base. Then when we have total area, we're going to take our lateral area and add the area of the base 2 times. Or people always say, well, how do you find the area of the base? What's the shape of the base of a cylinder? You're right, it's a circle. So pi r squared is the area of the base, and we're going to add that 2 times. So we'll do 2 examples here, one exact, one approximate. So here on the exact example, do you agree that the radius is 11 meters, making the diameter 22 meters, and the height connects the 2 circles, so 18 meters. So kind of big numbers here, actually. Exact circumference is pi times diameter, or 22 pi meters. Exact lateral area, well, we just wrote down the formula, circumference times height. Circumference times height. So on my calculator, I'm just going to do 22 times 18 is 396, and then leave the pi. So 396 pi meters squared. area of one base, of course, because the base is a circle, so pi times radius is 121 pi meters squared. We're going to double that, 242 meters squared. Oops, I forgot the pi. And that pi is really important. The final step is I'm going to add these two together. So you might be thinking, this is just like what I did with the prism. Yes, it is. 396 pi plus 242 pi. So 396 plus 242 is 638 pi meters squared. And that's exact. If we come over here, we'll do approximate. So this is a sideways cylinder. There's our circle. Diameter looks like 8, making the radius 4. And the height connects the two circles, so the height is 6. Approximate circumference is pi times diameter, so 3.14 times 8, 25.12 inches. I'm going to take the circumference times the height for the lateral area, 150.72. Then for area of one base, it's approximate, so 3.14 times 4 times 4, or 50.24 inches squared. I'm going to double that because there's two bases, 100.48 inches squared. And then I'm going to add those two together. And I'm just going to go ahead and add those here on my calculator. And my final answer, 251.2 inches squared. So when you look at both of these, exact and approximate, which do you like better? Keeping the pi symbol in or using the 3.14? We'll always do one of each, but everyone usually has a preference. So I don't know, it's hard. I usually like exact. I would say I'm more of an exact person, but I like the approximate too. Now we're going to go backwards, right? Lateral area, I'm writing out the formula, circumference times height. Lateral area is 120, circumference is 15. What's the height? So I'm just going to solve this mini algebra equation, divide both sides by 15, and I get that the height is 8. And just like we've seen earlier in the chapter, I dropped out the units, but then made sure I added them in at the end. Same thing here, I'll write out the formula again. Lateral area, circumference times height. 150 pi is circumference times 15. If I divide both sides by 15, circumference is 10 pi centimeters. Adding it back in for the units. Last one, find the total area, which is lateral area plus area of the base 2 times. So it's going to be 16 pi plus 4 pi plus 4 pi. And if I add that up, 24 pi centimeters squared for the total area. So there is the area of a cylinder.